الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا متقبلا يا أرحم الراحمين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا إلى يوم الدين. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. So, inshallah, in this class, I'm going to start with a note on the Ra before we move to the new section of Al-Jazariyah. If you remember, when we talked about the Ra rules, we mentioned that the Ra is heavy in 8 cases. 8 cases, the Ra is heavy, and is light in 4 cases, half of them, and is optional in half of the 4, which is 2. So the Ra is heavy in 8, half of them is 4, light in 4, and optional in 2 cases. Of those heavy cases is when the Ra, as Imam Ibn al-Jazari rahimahullah said, أو كانت الكسرة ليست أصلا, means if the Ra is preceded, okay, Sakinah, and preceded by a non-original kasra. Put your video on, Ya Omar. Don't leave Ahmed alone. Okay, so أو كانت الكسرة ليست أصلا, if the Ra has sukoon, okay, if the Ra has sukoon and is preceded by a non-original kasra, we said it is heavy, right? Like irji'u, irji'u. And we said the non-original kasra means the kasra of hamzatul wasl, because hamzatul wasl itself is non-original. But at that time we said if we keep the rule this way, there will be some cases that won't be included, okay? Like الذي ارتضى, for example. So let me show you in the screen, Bismillah, in the Ra rules, and I added that to the Ra rules, which is not something new, but just since I verified with Sheikh Ayman the way I phrased it, and alhamdulillah he approved it. So just to share with you this on the Ra, and to make it easier for students, inshallah. So the way we said, the way Sheikh Imam Ibn al-Jazari rahimahullah said that if the Ra has sukoon and preceded by a non-original kasra, it will be heavy. Okay, example here, irji'u. Okay, the Ra has sukoon. Okay, the Ra has sukoon and is preceded by a non-original kasra. Who can tell me why this kasra is non-original? Why this kasra is non-original? Yalla shabab, guys, brothers, sisters. Because it's the kasra of hamzatul wasl. So what does that mean? So what?
It is only used to start a word.
Because hamzatul wasl itself is not original, right? Because hamzatul wasl itself is not original, right? Hamzatul wasl itself is not original. Put your video on, Ahmad Ansari. All boys, please put your video on. All boys, put your video on. Because hamzatul wasl itself, ya brothers and sisters, hamzatul wasl itself is not original. That's why its kasra will not be original either, right? So, but here, if we look at this example, for example, look at this example, and we have a third example, which is, let's take, okay, let me put it here. The other example is, for example, liman irtada. Illa liman irtada. Okay, liman irtada. لمن ارتضى, this kasra here on under the noon, anyone has an idea, is it original or non-original? Who knows?
Not original.
Why?
We brought it just to avoid التقاء الساكنين.
تمام. Because originally it is من ارتضى, من ارتضى. Anyone knows what this man is? In Arabic, this is اسم موصول بمعنى الذي. اسم موصول بمعنى الذي, which means the. إلا لمن ارتضى, إلا لمن ارتضى means except to the one that he chose, except to the one. So man, اسم موصول, what do they call it in English? Relative pronoun, right? Like who or that or which. I met the man that I love, for example. Or I met the person that I know, for example. I bought the car which I want, for example. So which or that or who, these are called what? Asma, relative pronouns, I think, in English grammar. In Arabic, asma mawsula, ism mawsul. One of them is man. It means alladhi. So it is sakin all the time. But here, since we have, as Sister Suha said, noon sakina and ra sakina, so again we have the two consecutive sukoons rule, right? What's the rule? I keep asking you very simple, very simple stuff, like for normal students, just to make sure you always remember these rules and you know them very well, right? So who will volunteer and explain to me again quickly the rule of having two consecutive sukoons? What do we do? What do the Arabs do when they have two consecutive sukoons in the middle of the words? Yalla, I want ijaza students. I want ijaza students to answer. Yalla, guys. Like Omar, Ahmad, Hiba, who else is there? Yalla, who's gonna go for that?
I can say it.
Yalla, Bismillah. Yalla, Hiba.
You look at the letter of the first sukoon, and if it's a med letter, then you drop it. But if it's not a med letter, then you change the sukoon to a kasra in most cases.
Okay, great job. You see, this rule, Hiba heard it from me, I think, like maybe 6 years ago, almost, right? 6 years ago when she was in the Hafd school. So this rule, I teach it for like young kids when they're in the Hafd school. So for Ijaza students, it should be just like this, okay? Omar and Ahmed, I'm gonna keep asking you, huh? So make sure you have this really well memorized and understood in your mind. So here we say manir, so limanir tada. So that's why this kasra is not original. So we have three cases, as you can see here. We have these three cases, okay? The first case is included by Imam Ibn Jazari's words. This is Ra Sakinah preceded by non-original kasra. Tamam, we're gonna make it heavy, no issues. Here, same thing. It's a Ra Sakinah preceded by non-original kasra. Tamam, no issues. Here is this kasra for the dal, because again, from the rule of the two consecutive sukoons, what do we have to do here? Ya Ahmad, Yalla Ahmad or Umar, one of you have to answer me for this. In this example, we have two consecutive sukoons. Alladhi irtada, alladhi irtada. Yalla, Ahmad Ansari or Umar, one of you answer me. Put your videos on, guys. Is your video on? Ahmad, Adnan, all boys, keep your video on, please, if you can. If there's a necessity, you cannot, no problem. Yalla, Ahmad or Umar, one of you should answer me. Apply for me the rule of the two consecutive sukoons on this example. What should we do and how we should read it? Yalla, guys. This is of the basic reading rules. It's not like something like tajweed. It's basic reading rules. You apply it in your reading whenever you read. Do you know or no? Okay, I'm gonna say one more time. You have to say it. Okay, so make sure you follow. I'm gonna say it one more time, or who can say it for them before I say it?
Sheikh, is it الذي ارتضى?
No, الذي. الذي. الذين doesn't work. Then you have to change the ارتضى. Yalla guys, who can repeat the rule for them?
Sheikh, I just have this feeling it should be al-dhirtada, but I don't remember the rule for the.
Okay, we just said it. We just said the rule. Who can repeat the rule for them?
If the first sakin is a mad letter, we drop it. And if the first the other way is
if it is not a mad letter,
if it's not a mad letter, then we put kasra on it in most cases.
ماشي. So again, I'm gonna ask you to repeat, Ahmed and Omar. Okay, I'm gonna ask you to repeat. You have to repeat. Okay. In Arabic, we should not have two consecutive sukoons. One sukoon following another sukoon right away. We cannot have that in pronunciation, except in waqf. In waqf, we can have that, right? And that's why you see it's to have two consecutive sukoons in waqf, it needs practice. I don't like to say difficult. It needs attention. It needs practice. Min ba'd, right? Min ba'd, min qabl, right? It needs attention. Within the words, the Arabs don't have that. So they get, what do? They get rid of the first sukoon, okay? And by the way, sometimes we mentioned, if you remember, sometimes they make extra mad to get rid of the two, to make the two consecutive sukoons easier, right? That's just a side note, guys, for you as teachers and ijaza students. When we say, for example, al-haqqa, right? Al-haqqa. Do we have two consecutive sukoons here or no? We do. We have the alif and we have the first qaf, right? But we don't say al-haqqa. We make mad lazim 6 harakat, right? That's just a side note as an exception, right? As an exception. But the Arabs did not keep it as it is, did not keep the two consecutive sukoons here as they are. They changed it in a different way, other than dropping the first sukoon, right? Right? Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Yeah.
Isn't the rule is just applied like if we have two words, like we can stop on one on one word for two sukoon with two sukoon. Like
we're talking about in waqf, yes. They yes. have, but within the words,
yes,
within the words, they don't have. If they have, they're gonna get rid of it by mad, as in this case, like al-haqqa, which is the mad lazim, right? Because al-haqqa, there's no waqf, the qaf before, right? So it's in the middle of the word, right? The other sakin letter. So whether you stop or you don't, you have to apply mad there. Like to change, let's say, to make pronouncing two consecutive sukoons easier. Here, yes, they are in two different words. They are in two different words. So we have in one word, we have in two different words. They're gonna change it, right? In one word, if you're asking in one word, if we have two consecutive sukoons in one word, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Yeah, mostly it will be in two words. Mostly it will be in two words. Yeah, I don't have an example that we can have it in within one word. Because if we're gonna have a mad letter, it won't be. For example, if we say, then they will make some change. Definitely, they will make some change. So the word might be originally it has two consecutive sukoons in the middle of the word, but the way we know it, it will change, right? Like we know imshu, imshu as imshu. No, that doesn't have two sukoons, but it is imshu, right? But its origin is imshiu, right? Imshiu, right? Imshiu, that's its origin. So something like that could be, but it will be modified. So here, our example, and even imshi, by the way, even imshi, yeah, there will be kasra. There will be kasra, so that doesn't apply. But that's an example that the word could be modified from the case where it has two consecutive sukoons in the middle. So here our example, الذي ارتضى, this kasra is original. Okay, this kasra is original, is an original kasra, and this ya is dropped. So basically this ra has an original kasra before it, and still we make it heavy. We make the ra heavy. That's why we said the scholars, they phrased Imam Ibn al-Jazari's rule in a better way to include this case. Mashi. So what did we say at that time? Bismillah. We said Imam al-Shatibi rahimahullah ta'ala, Imam al-Shatibi said, أو كانت الكسرة Imam, not al-Shatibi, what's his name? Imam Mulla Ali al-Qari rahimahullah ta'ala, Imam Mulla Ali al-Qari rahimahullah ta'ala said, أو كان الأظهر أن يقول, it was better that he should have said, أو كانت الكسرة أصلا ووصلا. أو كانت الكسرة أصلا ووصلا means he's saying the ra will have sukoon, the ra will be heavy, if the kasra is not original, okay, or it is separated kasra. Regardless whether it's original or not original, as long as it's separated from the word of that has the ra, khalas, then it's heavy. Tamam? And that's what Imam al-Shatibi said in Shatibiyya, rahimahullah ta'ala. He said, وَمَا بَعْدَ كَسْرٍ عَارِضٍ أَوْ مُفَصَّلٍ فَفَخِّمْ فَهَذَا حُكْمُهُ مُتَبَذِّلًا. So he's saying, after kasr arid, when the ra comes after non-original kasra, look what he's saying, huh? Imam Shatibi, he made it very, very clear. If the Ra Sakinah comes after a non-original kasra, so there's non-original kasra before it, or there is a separated kasra before it. He didn't say whether that separated kasra is original or non-original, because it doesn't matter. And that will include the two cases, huh? I'm gonna write the other case here. لمن ارتضى. So there is a kasra here. So لمن ارتضى, the kasra here is non-original, and الذي ارتضى, the kasra here is original, right? Is original. And what else? And we have irji'u, let's say. This is a non-original kasra, which is connected. So you see, guys, the three cases that we want to include in this rule, these are the three cases. Okay. In the words of Imam al-Shatibi, they are all included. If the kasra is non-original, and this is case one, or it's separated, and these are the two other cases, 2 and 3. Okay. The kasra is separated from the word of the ra. Now, it doesn't matter if it is non-original like here or original, doesn't matter. So that's why I said, now I think, just to avoid all that, just we say, if the ra is sakina, and there is hamzat wasl before it, khalas, make it heavy. Yani, why all this? Someone might say, khalas, ya Sheikh, why all these what do they say, dawame, all this I don't know what, just tell us this one, khalas. We need to understand what the scholars said about it, okay? And then yes, for students and for you as a summary, khalas, this is the rule. Whenever you see ra sakina that has hamzat wasl before it, make it heavy, khalas, regardless of anything else. Ra Sakinah has hamzat wasl before it, make it heavy. خلاص. This includes this case? Yes. This includes this? Yes. This includes this? Yes. Does this include this? Who can tell me? Of course no. Why? Because no hamzat wasl before the Ra. So that's but I was hesitant to say that. I already explained this in the video, guys. In the Ra video, I explained all this, maybe with some little differences, but I said all that. I said all that in the Ra video. But now what's new, why I'm repeating that issue is because I asked Sheikh Ayman, may Allah reward him, about this. I told him, why don't we just say, just to remember exactly what I asked him, why we don't just say, if the Ra is heavy, if there is hamzat wasl before it. He said, yes, you can say that. So if there is hamzat wasl before it, he said whether that hamzat wasl is mantuqa, means pronounced like irji'u, or muqaddara, means it is there but it's not pronounced. Like this case 2 and case 3. Tamam, guys? Why I have, even though it's clear, but I have to ask why I was still like concerned until I asked him, alhamdulillah, and I had comfort. Why? Because we don't know. I mean, why the scholars didn't say that? Because I'm afraid there is like a case they want to exclude. Like there's a condition, there's a qaid, there's a special case. These sciences are not something easy to understand or easy to phrase. Phrasing rules is the most difficult thing, to phrase a rule or to make a definition. Definition is the most difficult thing in languages. And there are whole topics and lectures about definition, how to define something, right? When you define something or put a rule, you need to exclude everything else to restrict the definition to that particular thing. That's not something easy at all. They say there's hadd al-ta'rif and shumul al-ta'rif, and I don't know what, honestly, there's a lot about this issue. So alhamdulillah, that's the summary of this issue. So we said the Ra is Sakina if there is hamzat wasl before it. The Ra is heavy if it is Sakina and there is hamzat wasl before it. Khalas. Okay. Any question about this? That's what I wanted to explain in this. And now we can start the new section of Al-Jazariya, which is Bab al-Nuni wal-Mim al-Mushaddadatain wal-Mim al-Sakina.
Right. Sheikh, can I ask something about the two consecutive sukoons?
Yes.
And there, I think you mentioned that the rule was that if there is like a mud letter, it would be with the sukoon, like the first sukoon, the mud letter would be dropped, and the word before that or the letter before that would be connected to the following letter, just like in this al-dhirtada, right?
Right.
And if there is no mud letter, then we would introduce a kasra on that.
Yeah, we have to change that sukoon into a kasra in most cases. Like here, like in this word, in this example, liman irtada.
But is it like you said most cases?
Yeah, because in some cases the Arabs change it into dhamma, and sometimes maybe change it into fatha. Okay, and in the Quran, when that sukoon is changed into a dhamma or a fatha, they already put it for you. They put the haraka for you already. But when it's a change into a kasra, they don't put it. That's why you can just always change it into a kasra in the Quran. Because when it's changed to other than the kasra, they put the haraka for you already, so you don't need to worry about it. Tamam? And in the Indo-Pak script, they also put the kasra for you. When there is like adan al-ula, right? Adan al-ula in the Indo-Pak script, what do? They put here a noon with kasra, right or no? So they already also
yeah.
solve that for you.
Perfect.
تمام.
Okay, jazakallah khair.
وإياكم بارك الله فيكم. Okay, I'll stop this video here, and inshallah we can start the new section with a new video. Any question about what we mentioned today about the Ra? Is it clear? So when you list those 8 cases of the heavy Ra, you just say, if the Ra has sukoon preceded by hamzat wasl, خلاص. If you want to like say it as the scholar said it, and you want to show details, you can say if the Ra has sukoon and it's preceded by hamzat wasl, which is pronounced or skipped. If you want to stick to what Imam Shatibi, for example, said, or Mullah Ali Qari, you can say Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. If the Ra has sukoon and preceded by a non-original kasra or a separated kasra, and that will also be fine. Subhanakallahumma bihamd. Any question about this issue? Any suggestion? Yes.
Non-original kasra is clear, but what about the separated kasra?
Separated kasra, as we mentioned, means it's not in the same word of the Ra. Tamam? And we said separated so that
Okay.
this will include whether that kasra is original or non-original. But if it is connected, like hamzat al-wasl, it must be non-original. Because if there's kasra connected with the Ra and it is original, then it must be light if there is no istila letter afterwards. ماشي.
نعم.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. صلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.